So our topic for today is about understanding the normal curve distribution and the z-scores. Okay, so the probability distribution for a continuous random variable x is a bell-shaped curve. So the curve is a function of the random variable x and is sometimes called probability density function or probability distribution. The probability values under this curve enable us to make probability statements about a random variable. Hence, it is usually used as a model in inferential statistics. So, let's dig deeper sa ato ang probability distribution. So, these are the properties. The distribution curve is bell-shaped. So, as you can see there, bell-shaped man siya. Kana bell-shaped na siya. And the curve is symmetrical about its center or mean. So, symmetrical siya kung unsa na adre, mo po na adre. So, symmetrical ra siya, wala siya mirror nga image. So, the median and the mode coincide at the center. So, muna siya ang median ug mode. And the width of the curve is determined by the standard deviation of the distribution. So, kani standard deviation, narate formula ani guys ha. Then the tails of the curve flatten out indefinitely along the horizontal axis, always approaching the axis but never touching it. So as you can see there, kani siya, kaning lines diari, kaning line diari o line diari, gakuan siya, ga-approach siya sa horizontal axis pero wala siya na touch. So pareha sila characteristics sa asymptotes. Okay? So that is, the curve is asymptotic to the baseline and the area under curve is 1. Thus, it represents the probability or proportion or the percentage associated with specific sets of measurement values. So, ang atong kuan gyud atong curve gyud normally kani nga curve na to diri ra gyud ni siya taman sa 1 ra gyud ni siya taman kana kay diya ra man taman tong probability di ba, like let's say for example 50-50, di ba? So 1 man na siya di ba, or let's say for example na ay 100% ka chance, na 100% ka chance, and if palitan mo flip kag coin or motos kag coin, if motos kag coin, it's either heads or tails, so 50-50 ang chance. So either way, it is 1 out of 2. So if present ang duwa, 2 over 2, which means 100%. Okay? So the z-score is stated by a measure of relative standing. So these scores represent distances from the center measured in standard deviation units. There are 6 z-scores at the baseline of the normal curve, 3 z-scores to the left of the mean, and 3 z-scores to the right of the mean. So say for example, natay mean diari, atong mean diari nasa tunga. And then nasa 3 sa right, napud siya 3 sa left. Okay? And the table of areas under normal curve is also known as the z-table. So the z-score is a measure of relative standing. It is calculated by subtracting x minus the mean or x bar or mu. So the mean is siya tawag ani from the measurement x, and then dividing the result by s or sigma ni siya nga lowercase. So this one is called the standard deviation. So itakal na to siya unsay pasabot ani nilang tanan kani. So and then the final result, the z-score represents the distance between a given measurement x and mean expressed in standard deviation. Okay, so natin parts diari. So the areas under the normal curve are given in terms of z values or scores. Either the z score locates x within sample or within a population. So depende kung ang given ba kay sample ba or population. So the formula for calculating z is, so let's say for example kani siya nga taas, kani for population nga data. So if population nga data, kaning x nimo is the given measurement, kaning mu, this is the population mean, and then kaning sigma is the standard deviation. This is the population standard deviation. Same ra gyapon sa z, if sample data siya, ang x nimo is still the given measurement, but ang x bar nimo, kaning x bar, this is called the sample mean, and kaning S na to is the sample standard deviation. So, magdepende siya on sa given, guys. If population ba siya or um, sample. Okay? So, for any population, the mean and the standard deviation are fixed. Thus, the Z formula matches the Z values 1 to 1 with the X values or the raw scores. So, muna siyang raw nga score. Ato X values, kaning given measurement na to. So that is, for every x value, there corresponds a z value. And for each z value, there is exactly one x value. So 1 to 1 siya. So kung naay x value, naapoy z. Kung naapoy z value, naapod tay x. Okay? So the z values are matched with specific areas under the normal curve in a normal distribution table. Therefore, to find the percentage associated with x, we must find its matched z value using the z formula. And the z value leads to the area under the curve found in the normal curve table, which is a probability, and the probability gives the desired percentage of x. So, unsa gyud ay pasabot aning inani? So, let's have an example. So, this is a conversion from row score to z score that is shown graphically. So, muna siya ito ang normal curve. Muna itong curve ha. So, from the diagram, we see that a score x is equal to 58. Diba? Which corresponds to z, which is equal to 2. Okay? Z equal to 2 man. So, it is above the mean. Thus, we can say that with respect to the mean, the score of 58 is above average. So, di ba, ang giingon man dito nga, ang above average is diaryo. Asa 1, ang atong average. Nara diri nga area, ang atong average. Kani siya diri. Part, kani. But since 2 man na siya, or like, dari man siya napit sa 1 og 0 og 1 napit. Ang average na to. So, since 2 man na siya, the score of 58 is above average. Okay? So, muna siya sa tuwang example. So, for another example, so kani siya, locate the z value that corresponds to a PE score of 39 given that your standard deviation is 45. I know, your mean is 45 and your standard deviation is 6. Okay? So what you're going to do is to use the formula, kaning formula. So since ang given niya kay population man siya, so you will use this one. Kani population man siya. So gamiton ninyo siya. So you have there for x which is 39, your mean is 45 and your standard deviation is 6. So use the computing formula for finding z scores of population data and check the given values. And the z score in question locates x in a population. So daraga represent sa ato ang values. Ang kaning mean nato is 45, atong standard deviation is 6, and ang x is 39. Now, we will substitute the given values in the computing formula. So, i-substitute na itong given values. Simple substitution na ni siya, no? So, ang 45, diari, ang ato ang x is diari, ang atong um, sigma is diari. So, pag-calculate na to, pag-simplify na to, we get negative 1. Thus, the z value that corresponds to the raw score, 39, is negative 1 in a population distribution. So, with respect to the mean, the score 39 is below the population mean. So, we can say that the 39 is below average. Okay, so below siya sa average. Okay, you can also say that because makita nimo ang mean, di ba? Mo man ang mean or average, di ba? 45 biya na. So if 39 ra day siya, if 39 ang score, therefore ubos gyud siya sa average, di ba? So that is one way to determine if it is already below or above average. Determine na nimo diara if given po ang imong average diari, which is kaning mu or ang mean. So another example, na kay mathematics score is 74. So if it is given that mu is equal to 80, so ang mu na to is ang mean na to ha, mean or average. Ato ang sigma is called the standard deviation. So what is the corresponding score? So again, we will use the same formula, kani siya, and then identify na to kung unsa ang mga given values. So our mean is for 80. Okay. Our mean is for 80 and ang atuang 6 is for standard deviation. And then ang atuang 74 is for the raw score. Okay? So muna siya. And then what you're going to do next is to substitute the values. So mo substitute na lang kag values diretso. And then join. Okay. So since ma-substitute na lang nimo siya diretso sa formula na to, you can now determine the z score. So, ang z score daw na to or ang z value na to is equal to negative 1. So, thus, the z value that corresponds to the raw score, 74, is negative 1 in a population distribution. So, as you can see there, ang z score na to is negative 1. So, ubos siya, di ba, sa average. And you can also see, diari, nga itong mean is 80, but ang mathematics score is 74. So, this means nga, below average good siya. Di ba? So, dara oh. So, with respect to the mean, the score 74 is below the population mean. And we can also say that the score is below average. So, below siya sa average ang mathematics score nga 74. So, from our given nga 80. Okay? So, questions, ani niya? May questions? Questions, guys? Wala?
Wala, sir. None, sir.
Okay. If wala, we'll proceed to sa next nga topic na to. So, kanina topic is connected ni siya, ani. This involves z-scores sa Japan. Okay, so, ha? So, okay. So now, we will identify the regions of the areas under the normal curve. So, di ba, naman tayo normal curve. Tara, muna itong normal curve. So, the area under the curve is 1. So, muna siya ang area under the curve is 1. So, example ni siya ha. So, we can make the correspondence between the area and probability. So, you have learned in the previous lesson about the normal curve distribution. And in this lesson, you will understand about the z-scores and how to determine the areas under the normal curve. So the z table provides the proportion of the area or the probability or percentage between any two specific values under the curve. Regions under the curve can be described in terms of area. So for example, the area of the region between z equals 0 and z equals 1 is given in the z table. 0.3413. So kani siya unsa rin ni pasabot ani inani. So ang pasabot ani niya guys, kani siya kaning atong normal curve kay nagrepresent ni siya 1 gyud siya nga probability no. 1 gyud na siya if i-total ni sa tanan 1 gyud ni siya. But there are probabilities man good nga nag-specify lang in that area lang. Let's say for example, kanila nga area from 0 up to 1, between 0 and 1. So unsa rin ang value ana? Unsay value nila di ay? Ana, unsay value nila? So this one is from 0 to 1, if you're under the normal curve, this area will be 34% of the overall nga area. So kanilang siya nga part kani from 0 to 1, 34% ni siya. 34% ni siya aning overall nga area di ari. So mo na ibuot pasabot ana niya. So kaning area mo ni ang iyang probability. Okay? Mo na yung probability or ang iyang percentage. Okay? So now, let's say for example dara. So to find the region between z1, z equals 1 and z equals 2, we subtract 0.3413 from 0.4772. So kay ang total man sa from 0 to 2, from 0 up to 2, ang imuhang area is 4 0.4772, di ba? Na unsaon nimo pag-determine ang distance sa 1 ug 2? You will just simply subtract 0.3413 uh, uh, and 4772. So i-subtract nimo ang kanisya from this one. So ang result niya will be 0.1359. So kani nga area kapasabot ani nga kani nga area is equal to 0.1359. So since kani kay 0.34 man, 0.3413. So kana siya is 0.3413. Kani 0.3413 man na siya. And ang total nila nga distance is 0.4772 man. So you'll just simply subtract 0.34 sa 0.47, di ba? To determine this distance from here to here, di ba? So muna siya ang graphical representation niya. And also, since inani naman na siya, di ba kay ang total niya from 0 to 2 is 0.4772 and ang 0 to 1 is 0.34. So if imo siya i-subtract, makuha nimo ang distance sa 1 taman 2, di ba? Which is 0.1359. So the regions under the normal curve in terms of percent and the graph of the distribution would look like this. So, mo ni siya guys ang iyahang distansya. So, ang the average na to, it would be 0.34 for each. And then since, di ba, as I've stated earlier, symmetrical man siya from the mean, ang normal curve. So, since symmetrical siya, it has a mirror image nga characteristics. Okay? So, kung unsay nasa left, mo po nasa left. Ay, mo po nasa right, I mean. So, kung 0.34 diri, 0.34 po diri. Di ba kay 0.13 man po diri sa 1 taman 2? Tara? 0.13 po diri. And then, ang gibuhat na niya is ang sobra na lang dahil niya. Ang sobra niya, gi-divide by 2, and then, gi-distribute siya diari for both. So, ginana ra pagkuha ang atuang areas under the normal curve when z is given. So, if ay imong average kay duol sa mean, so it is most likely nga nasa 0.3413 imuhang makuha ang percentage. Okay? So, by the way, mo rin ni ato ang z-table. So, a z-table, so also called the standard normal table, is a mathematical table that allows us to know the percentage of values below. So to the left. So a z-score in a standard normal distribution. So ma may bawaan nimo kung unsay percentage sa imong z-score. Okay? So nata diri. So entries in the table give the area under the curve between mean and z standard deviations above the mean. So for example, you have there z is equal to 1.25. So the area under the curve between mean 0, between mean 0 and z is 0.3944. So unsaon man na nimo pag-determine. So na kay z-score nga 0.125. So imo ra na siyang i-locate. So ang 0.1 ang 1 dara ang 1. Ang 0.2 na diri. So diri ka mangita. If 1.15, diri ka mangita sa 1.1. Since kani 1.125 man ni siya, ay 1.25 man ni siya, so imo na lang i-locate sa 1.2. Okay? So 1.2, since 0.5 man na siya, mo count kag 5 digits. So ay napampuy 0.00. So 0.5 imong i-locate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So mo ni siya ang 0.125, di ba? 0.12. Then 0.05, if mo siyang i-add 0.125 siya, so it represents 0.3944. So, muna siya ang imong value sa imong z-score. So, kani siya 0.3944. Okay? So, di ba naingon ako sa previous nga kuan dara, oh? If duol siya sa average, it is most likely nga 0.34 or 34% siya. But if mulapas-lapas siya gamay, na siya diri. So, na to diri dapit ang mga 0.39, no? Tara, oh. Because it is above average di ay. So, ana na siya pag-determine sa tuang area under the z-score. So, muna siya muna siya um, use sa atong normal curve. Okay. Parang dait miles. So, we have there an example. So, we will find the area that corresponds to z which is equal to 1.96. So, natin na nga area. So, atong step 1 is to write the z value from the into a 3-digit form. So, ang atong kuan ani is di-connect na nako ni siya from our previous lesson. Di ba kaya sa atong previous lesson, we have there z is equal to the x minus the mean over the standard deviation. So, ang pasabot ani niya, ang use ani previous nga lesson, that's when iyon ko last time nga like connected na ni ang first og second nga lesson is kaning z needed ni siya for the next nga part which is to locate kung unsa siya nga area under sa curve. Okay. Since this is for you to determine the z-score man, and now you have the z-score na. Let's say for example, na naka z-score nga 1.96. So, you can now easily locate it in your z-table. So, ang z-table, kani siya given. Kani ato i-follow nga z-table, guys. So, this is the standard normal table. Let's say, for example, 1.96. So, 1.96. 1.96, dara. 1.9, dayon 6. 1.96 is here. 4.750. So, dara. 4.750. So, muna siya ang area sa imong normal curve. So, pagsulat ni mo niya, wait, tinta. Pagsulat ni mo niya, wala ka. Sorry if di siya perfect, 0. So, 0 ni siya. So, 1.96 man imong z-score. So, let's say for example, muna imong 1, muna imong 2. So, if 1.96, it touches somewhere between 1 and 2, pero close to 2. So, muna siya ang area nimo. Muna siya imong area. Ida na kong black ha. Muna siya imong area. Muna ang 1.96. Okay? Muna ang 1.96 which is equivalent to 4750. So, muna yung Z. Okay? Muna ang area si mong Z. Another example, you have there, find the area that corresponds to Z is equal to negative 1.15. So, negative 1.15. So, ang pasabot ano niya, if like, nag-indicate siya negative, this means nga, naa siya sa nga, um, left nga side. Okay? Naa siya sa left. Okay, di ari, naman ta sa right. If negative ang gihatag, diri ta sa left. Ana ra. So now, naratay z-score nga negative 1.15. Negative gini siya or positive. So, sa next step, no, kay positive ra siya, no? So, positive lang itong i-consider dire. So, we write the given z value into a 3-digit form, which is z is equal to 1.15. Now, we will find 1.1 nga row. So, dire, ta mag-base. 1.1 nga row, dara 1.1. Kay 1.15 man itong ipangita, 1.15. So, unsa ang value sa 1.15? So, this would be 3.3749. So, muna ang value sa ito ang 1.15 nga Z score. Okay? So, the area is 0.3749. So, mura na siya, guys. Inana ra pag-determine sa ito ang Z score. Okay, for 20 points. Kani 20 points, guys. Unsa, give me the Z score of Z value or like the area of 1.39. Anybody? Sige, kisa itong garisughan. Sige, answer. Open.
0.4177, sir.
Very good. 0.4177. Nara. Dita, let's say, 2.94. Unsa ang percentage of 2.94? Anybody? Okay, Mr. Valdez.
0.4984, sir.
0.4984. Okay, very good. Let's say for example, 2.43. Miss Dalida. Wait lang, si Miss Dalida sa guys, kay wala siya nag-respond kanina basin nasa kalibugan ba? Wala siya yung mic. Sige, si Mr. Saide na lang.
Sir, 2.43 to sir, no?
2.43. Tara, 2.43.
$0.4925, sir.
So, nakit 2.4. Dayon, 2.43 man. So, dara. Very good. Sige, Mr. Abdila. Kuan. What is 2.0? 2.0. Wala?
0.4772, sir.
0.
4772. 2.0, sir, na?
So, ana na siya. If 0 lang, dara. So, given man po dyan 2.00. This is for like, wala na siya next nga ano ba? Ini digit. Okay? So, I hope clear ano. So, inato to siya ang connection sa tong previous nga topic. Kaya siya nga topic is to determine the Z-score. Now, once you determine the Z-score, you will now find the area. I-find na nimong area niya under sa normal curve. Okay? So, ana ra siya, guys. So, I hope clear lang. Wala may questions? Question. Anybody? Miles, nakaipangunta na?
Sir, ako sir, wala.
Sure ba? Amistad Sisters, nakaipangunta na? Wala. So, guys, mag-inform din ko ninyo daan kanang murag mag-demo ko next week karong Monday. So, please lang kog inform sa inyong classmates pod nga like dili malate karong 8 siguro. Murag kamo akong gipili nga ako ang kuanan observe no, ako ang demohan sa ako ang topic pero atong topic by the way next meeting kay katura about gyapon sa